guys, welcome back to The Bright Side. Macy here, The Bright Side Girl, and today we're going to be doing a really big unhaul. Super big. So big. Okay, so I'm going to show you really quickly. Look. I don't even know if you can see, but I have 2 tables and a chair loaded with books that I'm going to share with you today. I started doing this when I turned my books back around the normal way after Christmas. So while I was like reorganizing my shelves and everything, I was going through them and figuring out which books I wanted to unhaul. Majority of these books are going to be TBR books, and then I'll have a few that are on my red pile as well. I have like no space in my office, so a few disclaimers. 1, hi, if you're new here, welcome. I mostly buy used thrifted books. I go to library bookstores, library book sales, Goodwills, thrift stores. I trade with friends. I get sent books. I get most of my books between $1 to $5. Majority of them on like the $1 to $2 side. I have so many good used bookstores here, library bookstores, so I'm able to get a lot of books for a small amount of money. So because of that, I have a large influx of books and a large outflux of books on a fairly regular basis. I trade a lot with friends. Sometimes I sell books. I use them for photos. I do things on Instagram. So this is absolutely massive, and you are going to see a couple of book hauls coming your way pretty soon, but that's just kind of how we roll on this channel. So none of these are like books that I paid, you know, full price $20 for the most part. Rarely ever do that, honestly. So that's why I'm able to have such a huge unhaul. I also am able to kind of find books easily again, so if I like change my mind on some of these, I can kind of get them again easily in the future without spending a ton of money. So that's why this haul's so big. I know you guys love a big unhaul, but that's why it's so large, and I also haven't done one, I think, since last summer. So this is a huge, huge stack. So it's going to be a mix of things I've read and then things on my TBR. I'm not going to go into the descriptions of the books, but I will give you a small explanation for some of them. But we have a lot to get through, so we're going to dive right in. Okay, first up, The Looking Glass Wars from Frank Bador. This makes me kind of sad. So I think I'm keeping The Looking Glass Wars, the first book. I'll talk to you about that in a second. We have this dilemma come up several times. So we have Seeing Red and Arch Enemy, books 2 and 3. So we have a dilemma. 2 years ago, I started finishing up some series on my unfinished series list. I started with like 50. I got down to 27 at the end of 2022. And then last year I got down to like 10. I'm really working on finishing up series. So this was a series that I actually started last year, and then I read the first 2 books. This is an Alice in Wonderland retelling. I believe these are considered YA, but I'm not sure because they're an older series. So I don't know if YA was really a thing when they came out. I enjoyed the first 2 books, but this is an older series. It has an older style about it. They definitely have like a old British language, which I sometimes really love. And there were some really unique things that I really enjoyed, but I have kind of been like not inspired to read the final book in the series, and I don't really remember that much. I'm gonna keep the first book because I'll use it for recommendations, and I do think it's worth a read, and they probably all are worth a read. I just don't feel like I am in the mood for them. We're gonna unhaul 2 of them. It's really hard for me to unhaul 2 books out of a series, but I think it's for the best. All right, same kind of thing. The Monstrumologist book 4, The Final Descent by Rick Yancey. I love the first book in this series. I really enjoyed all 3 books until this one, and then I was so frustrated with where this story went and how it ended. It just kind of tainted the whole series for me. I only have the first book and this one, so we're gonna unhaul this one. Again, I'll probably keep the first book. It's such a good, like, spooky kind of creepy series, but this one kind of made me mad. We have The Song of the Lioness by Tamora Pierce. This is one that I just had in a pile that I was going to haul for fantasy series, but I went through a bunch of my fantasy books and I'm unhauling a lot of them because I'm not reading fantasy as much as I think I am because of all the readathons and the different themes. I read a lot of contemporary, dystopian, survival books, thrillers, and I don't pick up as many series. So you're actually going to see me unhaul a lot of fantasy books in this particular video because there are other ones that I want to prioritize and I just don't have the room for them. I also don't even think I ever hauled this one, so it could be great. Same kind of a deal with Shadow Song. This is part of a duology. Winter Song was my favorite book of like 2021, and I thought this book was a letdown and I really didn't enjoy it, so we're only going to keep the first book. Wintry Goblin Fantasy. That's all you need to know. Daughters of Ruin, just another fantasy book. I honestly don't know anything about it except that there's a kingdom and some princesses. The cover's cool, but we're unhauling. Same thing for Amber and Dusk. I think I've hauled and unhauled this book a lot of times, but for now, we're saying goodbye. Bloodleaf and Greythorn. This is hard because this is like a newer fantasy. I've heard okay things about it, but again, I just have so many other fantasies that I've heard amazing things about, and I feel like this is one that I can find again if I really need to, so we're unhauling. The Last Princess by Galaxy Craze. This is just like dystopian survival story. I know nothing about it. It could be amazing, but I have a lot of other ones that I need to get to. Burn for Burn by Jenny Han. I absolutely love Jenny Han's To All the Boys I Loved Before. It's one of my favorite contemporary series, and I'm not big on contemporary, but I recently read The Summer I Turned Pretty, and I just really didn't enjoy it that much, and I just feel like I don't need a ton of contemporary on my shelves, and I have enough. And this is, I think, is the second book in the series, so we're gonna unhaul. Next, we have an entire fantasy series that could be amazing. Like I said, I've never read it. We have The Novice, Battle Mage, and Inquisition. Again, one that I could pick up in the future. I don't know much about it except for that it's a fantasy YA series. We have a male lead character, which could be amazing, but I'm trying to minimize my fantasy books. Burn, second in a duology or trilogy. Don't know anything about it. It's fantasy. I got it for $1. The Akata Warrior, I think this is like a witchy fantasy. I think this is the second book. I don't have the first book, and this is one I can find again pretty easily. Moresi, The Abbey Chronicles. I just thought this cover was cool when I got it. I don't really know entirely what it's about. I think it's middle grade. It has ships on the cover, so that was probably part of the reason I picked it up. But we're gonna say goodbye. Now That You're Here, this does sound kind of cool. It's about people that like swap bodies or share bodies or different loops in time. I have other things with similar plots that I want to get into. The Wicked Game by Michelle Zink. This has something to do with like voodoo magic. I have so many spooky reads to get to though that we're letting go of this one. The Rule of Thought by James Dashner. Another one I can pick up super easily. Another second in a series. I believe it has something to do with virtual reality, which I would like to read a lot of books from, but we're saying goodbye. Kingdom of Ash and Briars. I think this is some kind of retelling. Two similar kind of concepts. We have Earthquake by April Lynn Pike and Firebrand by Anthony John. I think this is elemental magic and survival, and this is survival. I bought a lot of survival books because I like to read them for hike-a-thon and like in the summer, but I think I have a big enough pile on my shelves right now. Fever Crumb by Philip Reeve. Recognize the author, and that's why I got this one. That's all. Unhauling the Great and Terrible Beauty series. I read the first book years ago, and I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. And these books are really big. Another big kind of like witchy school setting series. I do like Libba Bray, but I just have no interest in reading the rest. I think I have Great and Terrible Beauty somewhere too that I need to unhaul. Love and Gelato, just another contemporary I'm gonna pass on for now. Stormrise, I think a friend sent this to me. We got it at like Dollar Tree. We just like the cover, so not always a good reason to keep something. This is me being a total brat. Muse of Nightmares, because I was gonna rehaul it and try again, because I read Strange the Dreamer in 2022 or 2021, and I just did not love it. Even though I love her Daughter of Smoke and Bone series, I wanted to love it and it just didn't work for me, and then I never read this one, so I was gonna give it a shot, but I don't think this is the year for it. The Trader's Ruin and The Trader's Kiss, just another fantasy duology or trilogy. Scratch Daughter, another second in a series, witchy. Haven't read. Daughter of Sparta. This is by Claire M. Andrews. I read this one for Retold-a-thon and I enjoyed it, but I have zero interest in picking up the second book, and I like barely remember things that happened in here. I think we're gonna find her a new home. Magnolia Parks. I don't know where, but in my brain somewhere, this was like a theme park style novel. The cover like has a Ferris wheel on the cover and gives kind of that impression, but this is actually like a smutty romance, toxic love drama. So I don't have interest in that. Speaking of smutty books, Nick Newell's Christmas Playlist, one of the biggest disappointments of last year. I thought this was going to be a cute, cozy rom-com. Instead, it was like very spicy. The characters were really annoying. It wasn't very festive. I DNF'd this during Jingle Bell-a-thon, so we're unhauling. Entire trilogy. I think I got this whole trilogy for like less than $2. So this is The Six, The Siege, and The Silence by Mark Alpert. I believe this is a middle grade series and it has something to do with virtual reality. I had video plans to do a whole like virtual reality thing, but we're not going to do that for a little bit, so unhauling these. A lot of these also I can get on audiobook, so if I do decide to read them, I can do it that way, and then I can purchase them after I read them if I decide that I really want them. So The Kinder Poison, another fantasy I haven't read. The Burning World by Isaac Marion. This is part of the Warm Bodies trilogy. I read this one. I don't even think I finished it. It was really dark and depressing, and while it was well written, it didn't have the charm of the first book. So unhauling, even though it's so pretty. Summer Days and Summer Nights, 12 Love Stories, edited by Stephanie Perkin. I was so excited for this anthology because I loved the Christmassy winter version that was edited by Stephanie Perkin, and I pretty much hated this one. It's supposed to be like a summery romance kind of collection. A lot of them were like sad and dark and depressing, or not even romancy. I really liked the first one in here, which had to do with like Selkies. But other than that, I almost didn't like any of these. Same thing for Because You Love to Hate Me. This is villain backstories, and then YouTubers do different villainous prompts. I didn't understand the entire concept of this book, and I really just did not enjoy a lot of the stories in it, unfortunately. Little Bigfoot, Big City. I believe this is a really cute little middle grade book, but I have enough for now. We Rule the Night, another fantasy that I found at Dollar Tree that we're unhauling. The Seeker, this is a trilogy fantasy series that I see a lot, so we're unhauling for now. The Young World by Chris Waits. This again is like a dystopian hero type series, and I just have a lot of those at the moment. Oh, I did have one more. Curse of the Wendigo. It's from that Monstermologist series. I had all but one apparently, so we're unhauling everything but the first one. The Book of Strange New Things. I picked this one up because it had beautiful gold edges. I believe it has something to do with space. It's adult, but I don't know anything about it, and it looks like it might be kind of sad. That's just my crazy intuition, but also I have like a lot of spacey themed books already. Song of Blood and Stone, another Dollar Tree find. Again, cover looks cool, but it's another like detailed fantasy series that I probably wouldn't jump into for a while. Beyond the Shadowed Earth by Joanna Ruth Meyer. This again is another duology situation. I enjoyed the first book, Beneath the Haunting Sea or something like that, and I liked this one. It's well written, but it's just something I don't think I'll ever read again. Ultra Ball. This is just a cheesy looking little spacey middle grade about playing football in space that I got for Galaxy-a-thon, but I don't know that I'm gonna get to this anytime soon. Gate of Sorrows. I liked this one because it had a gargoyle. That was the only reason I picked it up. The Trader's Game and The Warrior's Curse by Jennifer A. Nielsen. I do want to try something else from Jennifer A. Nielsen, but again, maybe not a big old fantasy series. Jep Who Defied the Stars. This one does look like it would be really cool. Originally I got it because I thought it has something to do with like galaxy and space, but it's really more of a fantasy novel. So Ball Lightning, again, just another Dollar Tree find that was like space related that I wanted to check out. But The Golden Specific, another fantasy series where I have the second book. Arclight and Meridian. I physically read this duology last year and I did enjoy it. It's like kind of a unique twist on like dystopian post-apocalyptic life, but again, nothing I think I will overly like recommend or think about in the future. Unhauling this and Meridian when I can find it. The Dead Tossed Waves and The Dark Hollow Places. This is part of the Forest in Hands and Teeth series. These are all like separate books though, following different characters. Forest of Hands and Teeth is like a zombie post-apocalyptic kind of like The Village type story, and I did like that one, and I did somewhat enjoy these, but they were so dark and I just didn't understand the full point of the books as a whole. Like they were just so dark and depressing. I'm gonna keep that first book and unhaul these two. And lastly, The Burning Shadow by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I just have this random book that's like second in a spin-off series. We're not gonna start here. Okay, I think that's everything for now. Hopefully it wasn't too mundane with me not giving too many descriptions and things. I didn't want this video to be super long. This is a lot of books to unhaul, but I really still need to do more because I have some really fabulous hauls coming your way for all the different readathons and things. I may get another bookshelf, I'm not really sure, but we're gonna find these some good homes. I do a mix of like trading, selling, donating, little free libraries. Like there's a whole like thing that I go through when I do a big unhaul like this. So I'm gonna spend tonight organizing and figuring out what's gonna go where. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully I didn't unhaul one of your favorite books, but let me know if you've read any of these down below in the comments and if you agree or disagree with me unhauling them. Most of them I'm unhauling just for space and I can find them again pretty easily, but there were a few that I had read that I just felt like I didn't need in my life anymore. So let me know if you're gonna do an unhaul anytime soon or if you ever do them, and I will see you guys next time on The Bright Side.